What's up, guys? I'm here to do a review today on one of my old favorites called Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance. This is actually a special Blu-ray disc for me because it's actually the first 3D Blu-ray I ever bought. I remember I was in Best Buy one day. This is when 3D TVs were starting to become a pretty big thing, and there was this small section of 3D Blu-rays, and I was already there to buy Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance, but I saw this, and I'll show you here. I don't know if you can see it well enough, but it's got this cool lenticular cover here. It shows his little chain that he throws around, kind of popping off of the lenticular cover. Anyway, I saw this and I was like, well, I don't have a 3D TV and it does cost more, but who knows, maybe one day I will have a 3D TV. So it sat on my shelf for the longest time, and when I did buy a 3D TV, it was the first movie that I watched, but I just kind of forgot about it, and just the other day I took it off the shelf and decided to watch it again. So I'll go over the synopsis here real quick. For the first time in 3D, Nicolas Cage returns as Johnny Blaze in Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance, still struggling with his curse as the Devil's bounty hunter. Johnny is hiding out in a remote part of Europe when he is recruited by a secret sect of the Church to save a young boy from the devil. At first, Johnny is reluctant to embrace the power of the Ghost Rider, but it is the only way to protect the boy and possibly rid himself of his curse forever. So this, as it said, Nicolas Cage returns as the Ghost Rider. That's right. So there was a movie before this just called Ghost Rider, and I kind of feel like this is a sequel slash soft reboot because, for one thing, the actor that plays the devil is different, and it does kind of briefly go over a recap of how he got his powers, but it looks a little bit different in this recap than it does in the original movie. And on top of that, Nicolas Cage gave up his fake southern accent that he was using for Johnny Blaze in the first movie. And also, this movie is a little bit more on the darker edge. This is one of the two Marvel Knights production films that came out. There was this one and Punisher Warzone. That was a very short-lived studio experience, but it's kind of garnered a pretty big cult following since then. But anyway, I really enjoyed this movie a lot. It's funny, it's got some dark humor. The special effects in this are like way better than how they were in the first movie. I'll give the first movie that it does have better writing. The writing in this movie, it's not anything epic. It's just here for popcorn entertainment. But the special effects for Ghost Rider in this movie are spot on. He looks so realistic. But anyway, let's see. Let's go over the rating. In case there are parents out there that want to know if it's okay for their kids to watch, it's PG-13, intense sequences of action violence, some disturbing images and language. I don't really feel like it's that bad. I think you'll be okay. The film itself is a little over 1 hour and 30 minutes. It's got an aspect ratio of 2:40, so you'll have the black bars on the top and bottom of your screen. It's got a 5.1 DTS HD Master audio track. So I'll just go over the 3D really quickly. I already told you what I think about the movie. Obviously, I like it. So for the 3D, the most important aspects of 3D for me are the three-dimensional depth and then the brightness levels. Pop-outs are kind of an afterthought for me. They're fun, but you know, I would rather have a movie that has consistent depth with little pop-outs rather than a movie that has some pop-outs here and there and like no depth. So for the depth on this movie, I'm going to go ahead and give this one 3.5 out of 5 stars. It is pretty consistent for the most part. Some of the scenes, the dialogue scenes, look a little gimmicky. It's kind of reminiscent of a movie that I saw once called Immortals. I did a review on that as well. And in that review, I described the picture as looking like that of a pop-up book. I don't know if you remember those pop-up books when you were kids. You know, you open up the book and the scenery just springs up. That's kind of what it looked like. You know, there would be a scene with two people talking. Nicolas Cage, his figure, his outline of his figure would look like it was on the outside of the screen, and then, you know, the screen pushes in a little bit, and then the other person, the outline of their figure is kind of doing the same thing. So It's cool. It added a little something extra, but it also seemed a little gimmicky to me. But the depth was consistent throughout the whole movie, though, and that's what I really like. The brightness levels were perfect, especially at the end. We have a pretty dark scene where the devil is beginning his transference of his soul into this little boy. It's at night. It's like in some open environment, and it's dark, you know, you've got the moon and everything, and I thought that maybe at that scene, that's when I was going to start to get some eye strain, but no, the brightness levels were perfect throughout the entire movie. So for brightness levels, I'd go ahead and give this one 5 stars. And that's what's really important when it comes to these 3D movies, I feel like, because the last thing you want is to have glasses on that already sort of kind of dim the screen a little bit and have it get even darker. For the pop-outs, I go ahead and give the pop-outs like 2.5 out of 5 stars. There weren't too many scenes where everything is like protruding from the screen, but there were some scattered out throughout the movie, and it was very pleasant to watch. One notable scene is in one of the first chapters of the movie when our Frenchman, who's a sidekick of Ghost Rider, is he's trying to evade these I don't know what they are, thugs or whatever. He's on his motorcycle, and he's on this spiraling highway going up a mountain, and somehow he gets launched from his motorcycle over the side of the mountain, and it shows, the camera shows him, you see him from behind, and he's like flying backward, and it looks like he's literally just right outside your TV screen. You know, you could go, whoop, hello. And then it switches to the front of him where he's like, ah, and he's got this gun and he's like just shooting, and the gun looks like it's protruding out of the screen. So that was pretty fun. There's also another scene where Ghost Rider takes action, and he starts doing this weird thing where he's kind of levitating on his back and spinning around. And every time he comes around, his head, it looks like his head and his legs are kind of popping out of the screen. There's also some pretty good scenes where one of the villains in the movie, Carrion, I think his name is, the devil gives him some special ability to where he can touch people and they decay. So every time he does that, they turn into ash eventually, and the ash kind of like sprinkles around and it kind of looks like it's coming off of the screen. For one of the earlier 3D Blu-ray releases, I would say this is a pretty decent title to pick up, because there were a lot of them back then that were always a hit and miss. So I definitely would recommend this movie. And like I said, as far as the story goes, it's not epic writing or storytelling, but it is entertaining, and I really think you would enjoy it. So if you can find one, pick one up. Try to get one with the lenticular cover. It's pretty cool. I have seen this movie without the lenticular cover on sale for $5 sometimes at bargain stores like, oh gosh, what is that place called? Big Lots. I've also seen it at places like Dollar Tree. So keep an eye out. Or, you know, if you don't want to wait, you could just find it on eBay or something like that, or Amazon. If I can find a link for it on Amazon, I'll leave it in the description. Hey, thanks again for watching, and God bless.